What's going on, people? It's your boy Tone, back with another video. Today we got Audit the Audit. Let's go.
7th, 2021, 24-year-old newspaper carrier Cedric Altheimer was delivering papers around 2 a.m. in Pierce County in Tacoma, Washington. Though off-duty, Pierce County Sheriff Ed Troyer noticed Mr. Altheimer driving in and out of driveways, and believing this behavior to be suspicious, began to follow him in his unmarked personal SUV. Eventually, Mr. Altheimer turned his vehicle around to face Sheriff Troyer, prompting the sheriff to call 911.
5872. Hey, keep your hands where we can see them. Hands on the steering wheel.
Is that what you're coming over here for?
Yeah, that's why we're coming over here, okay?
I'm suspicious, huh?
No, because he called saying
I
that...
don't care what he called for. He's following me.
Okay, we'll figure
Don't
everything
talk to him. I don't
will...
need you to figure out nothing. I am working.
We will figure everything...
I am working.
Okay.
I'm a black male in a white neighborhood, and I'm working.
That has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it does.
No.
He's following me.
Okay. He's getting out of the way, okay?
Okay, he's still following me.
That's
we will
crazy.
figure that out.
Yeah, get the f away from me. I don't care how many cops show up. He's following me.
Okay, can I explain it?
No, I don't need nothing to be explained to me. I'm being followed.
Okay.
He called the cops. Congratulations.
Yes.
I'm coming to and from my house. Ooh, he's committing a crime. He's black.
No one's saying...
He's black.
Okay.
He's black.
I'm going to explain
I'm
why
doing my f***ing paper route.
Okay, I understand that. I see
My
all the
man at
papers in
work?
the car,
Yeah,
okay?
congratulations.
He just called saying that someone threatened his life. That's why we're here, okay?
Yeah, I threatened his life
So-
because I walked up to him and asked him why he's following me.
You're not under arrest. Can you step out of the
I
car?
don't need to be under arrest. I don't... That's dumb.
Appreciate it.
You're gonna arrest me?
No, I'm not gonna arrest. Come sit right here, okay?
What are we here for? Search my car. There's newspapers. This is the second time this happened to me.
What's your first name, sir?
Cedric, all time.
Cedric? Okay, Cedric. Okay, we just got a call saying that...
I'm in danger. Ooh, that's a lie. Now what happens
That's
to
what
him?
we're here to figure
He's
out.
lying.
That's what we're here to
He's
figure
lying.
out, okay?
So what happens to him?
Was there any
What happens to a liar?
In Sheriff Troyer's call to 911, he repeatedly claimed that Mr. Altheimer had threatened to kill him. But according to the official police report, the sheriff later admitted that he had never been threatened and had not seen Mr. Altheimer with any weapons. The sheriff's call was dispatched at the highest priority, and over 40 officers from various agencies responded to the scene. According to Section 9A.84.040 of the Washington Revised Code, a person commits the crime of false reporting if, quote, with knowledge that the information reported, conveyed, or circulated is false, he or she initiates or circulates a false report or warning of an alleged occurrence, knowing that such false report is likely to cause an emergency response.
40
the definition
cops
of
pulled up.
emergency response in the statute
40?
includes, quote, any action to protect life, health, or property by a peace officer or law enforcement agency of the United States, the state, or a political subdivision of the state. Additionally, Section 4.24.850 of the Washington Revised Code states that an individual who is a victim of a false reporting offense, quote, may bring a civil action against the person who committed the offense and may recover damages and any other appropriate relief, including reasonable attorney's fees, and that any person convicted of making a false report that resulted in an emergency response, quote, may be liable to a public agency for the reasonable costs of the emergency response by and at the discretion of the public agency that incurred the costs. Given the available facts, there is a strong argument that Sheriff Troyer violated the false reporting statute by claiming that Mr. Altheimer threatened to kill him when he actually did not.
So let me get this straight. The guy was just delivering papers from house to house. The sheriff calls the police on him saying that he's doing something illegal. And then 40 cops pulled up. You'd figure he would have waited until he saw the guy commit a crime or something like that. Or, you know what I mean? Because if a guy's delivering papers, if you wait, you know what I mean, let some time go by, you'd figure you'd see him delivering paper. So this is crazy. Come on.
Sheriff Troyer's actions clearly caused an emergency response, and he almost certainly knew that his call would provoke one. As we've discussed in previous episodes of ATA, convictions for making a false 911 call also require that the individual know that the information they are reporting is false. While proving someone's mental state can be challenging, the fact that Sheriff Troyer later admitted that Mr. Altheimer never threatened him strongly suggests that he had knowledge that the information he was providing was false. If he were to be convicted of this offense, the sheriff could also be held civilly liable for his actions if Mr. Altheimer or the police department pursued a case against him.
We will figure that out.
To get 4 cops here. How many cops cars are here?
Cedric.
For a newspaper carrier?
Cedric.
That's
I don't need to
ridiculous.
talk. It's not making no sense. I'm not under arrest, right?
You're not under arrest.
Okay, I can go, right?
No, you're not free to go either.
Why can't I go?
What?
I'm not under arrest? Who's a sergeant? Who's the sergeant around here?
Am I being detained?
Please, I'm not under arrest,
Am I
right?
free to go?
I'm going back to work, right?
No, you're not leaving right now, but you're not under arrest, okay? Do you want me to put you in handcuffs?
This is dumb.
Right now,
you're gonna put me in handcuffs for what?
Cedric.
Because I'm talking?
Right now, I'm just talking to you man to man, try to figure out what's going on, okay?
It's not a man-to-man conversation. Go talk to him. The one's so in danger. He's in danger. I got weapons.
Cedric,
I got weapons.
Do you see how calm I am?
Newspaper out.
You see how calm I am?
I pulled into his driveway. If I pulled into your driveway, I'm obviously your carrier.
That's all we're trying to get to is what happened between you guys that made him call
I am
us.
working. I am driving a bucket, and I'm in a nice neighborhood. I'm working. I'm over here every night. I see.
And I understand how the cop is trying to like de-escalate the situation by just talking calmly, but you got to view it from his perspective. He's just doing his job, delivering papers, probably 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and someone starts following you, and then calls the police on you and lies to the police saying you threatened their life. So he's pissed, bro. He is livid, dog. There ain't no point in talking to him right now because he's not gonna calm down. I mean, if that was me, there's no calming down, bro. 40 cops pull up on you. You make one wrong move and you out of here. That's just crazy. Come on.
It's every night. Nobody messes with me. But a car that sees a bucket in the neighborhood on the wrong side of the street, throwing a paper out the window, he's suspicious. Oh, he pulls up to another house. He's going to steal a Amazon package off that porch. Check my car. I got 15 Amazon packages in the trunk.
You're not in handcuffs. You're not in trouble right now.
I know I'm not in trouble. I am working.
But until we figure everything out, and make sure everything's covered, okay, you do have to talk to us.
That's so embarrassing.
It's a big investigation.
You see them leave?
That's so embarrassing.
Everybody needs to leave. You guys need to walk him home. Follow him home. He needs help. He needs assistance.
Did you ever threaten any sort of violence?
No!
Okay.
What am I threatening for?
That's
I feel threatened. I'm followed. Just because I walked up on him, I threatened him?
Did he make any threats to you?
Nobody made no threats.
Okay.
That's a lie. If I made a threat, I'll tell you, but I didn't. I didn't even go to him angry. I just wanted to know why he was following me.
Okay. That's
simple.
So, what this looks like is a big case of misunderstanding, okay? He thinks you're doing something, you think he's doing something, okay?
Because I didn't answer none of his questions, he says he's in danger. You're a sheriff! You're so in danger!
Cedric, stop. We pulled over so many paper delivery people because, yes, it is weird when we see them in the middle of the night going from house to house, and people always call you guys.
In the middle of the night.
You always have cops drive by you. Sometimes you get.
It's typically between what, 3 and 5 in the morning? They gotta have it done. So you can wake up in the morning at your paper at your door.
The officers explained
7
that
a.m.
Sheriff Troyer became suspicious of Mr. Altheimer because he was pulling in and out of driveways in the neighborhood. Generally speaking, it is not a crime to pull into someone's driveway. Under Section 46.04.420 of the Washington Revised Code, a private road or driveway is defined as, quote, every way or place in private ownership and used for travel of vehicles by the owner, or those having express or implied permission from the owner, but not by other persons. In most cases, individuals are considered to have the owner's implied permission to enter a driveway for specific purposes. In the 2013 case of Florida versus Jardines, the U.S. Supreme Court explained that the curtilage, which is the area immediately surrounding a home, is generally not considered to be open to the public, but that, quote, the knocker on the front door is treated as an invitation or license to attempt an entry, justifying ingress to the home by solicitors, hawkers, and peddlers of all kinds. This implicit license typically permits the visitor to approach the home by the front path, knock promptly, wait briefly to be received, and then, absent invitation to linger longer, leave. Similarly, in the 2012 case of State versus Ort, Division 1 of the Washington Court of Appeals held that, quote, whether a portion of the curtilage is impliedly open to the public depends on the facts of each case. However, it is well established that an access route to a residence, such as a driveway or walkway, is impliedly open to the public, absent a clear indication that the owner does not expect uninvited visitors. Even if the driveways were not open to the public, a court could find that Mr. Altheimer had each homeowner's express permission to use their driveway to deliver the papers, as they had authorized this entry by subscribing to the newspaper. Still, it's important to note that while Mr. Altheimer's behavior was legal, it does not necessarily mean it was not suspicious. In the 2002 case of United States versus Arvisu, the Supreme Court overruled an appellate court decision finding that a police officer did not have the necessary reasonable suspicion to detain an individual because each of the officer's observations could be explained by an innocent explanation. In reaching this conclusion, the court held that the infamous Terry case prohibited this sort of quote-unquote divide and conquer analysis suspicious because, quote, the officer in Terry observed the petitioner and his companions repeatedly walk back and forth, look into a store window, and confer with one another. Although each of the series of acts was perhaps innocent in itself, we held that, taken together, they warranted further investigation.
Okay. Papers, bags hanging in the window. How do you not see that? There's no tenants. I'm not hiding nothing. Front windows are clearly down. What are we waiting for?
We're waiting for them to talk to him to figure out what his side of the story.
What do we need to talk to him for? He's following me. Just because he made the call?
No, yeah, because you are the two.
So if I would have made the call, you guys...
This whole thing is suspect, bro.
So that's why we're getting...
Involved in what? A car following you?
Yes, if it's
a sheriff? Somebody that has a gun on him?
If it's as simple as that, yeah. Okay?
Because at the end of the day, it's either he committed some type of crime or you suspect him of committing some type of crime or you don't. I don't know why we're wasting time with the whole conversation here. Let's get back into it.
I understand your frustration. I appreciate you being quiet. Okay?
Mr. Altheimer repeatedly emphasized that Sheriff Troyer was following him, which is not necessarily a crime in and of itself. Every state has criminalized following another individual under certain circumstances, and while most states require an individual to follow you at least twice for their behavior to be considered harassment, a few states have prohibited even a single instance of following. For example, under Section 18-9-111 of the Colorado Revised Statutes, quote, a person commits harassment if, with intent to harass, annoy, or alarm another person, he or she follows a person in or about a public place. In Washington, although the harassment law does not include following another, Section 9A.46.110 of the Washington Revised Code states that, quote, a person commits the crime of stalking if, without lawful authority, he or she intentionally and repeatedly harasses or repeatedly follows another person. The person being harassed or followed is placed in fear that the stalker intends to injure the person, another person, or property of the person or of another person, and the stalker either intends to frighten, intimidate, or harass the person, or knows or reasonably should know that the person is afraid, intimidated, or harassed, even if the stalker did not intend to place the person in fear or intimidate or harass the person. The statute defines repeatedly follows as, quote, deliberately maintaining visual or physical proximity to a specific person over a period of time on 2 or more separate occasions. In some situations, following another individual may also constitute an assault under Washington law. According to Section 9A.36.041 of the Washington Revised Code, quote, a person is guilty of assault in the 4th degree if, under circumstances not amounting to assault in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd degree, or custodial assault, he or she assaults another. In the 2009 case of State versus Elmy, the Washington Supreme Court explained that, quote, because assault is not defined in the criminal code, courts have turned to the common law for its definition. 3 definitions of assault are recognized in Washington: an unlawful touching, an attempt with unlawful force to inflict bodily injury upon another, and putting another in apprehension of harm. Under the 3rd definition, following someone in a menacing or threatening way that was intended to cause them to fear for their safety could be considered a type of assault. While police officers may follow an individual in the course of an investigation, if their behavior crossed over into criminal activity, they could still be convicted of an offense, particularly when they are off duty, like Sheriff Troyer was during this incident.
Did he tell you to stay here, or you just stay here because
I stay here because he's just following me. Yeah. I'm going to my houses. I don't want him knowing where all my houses are. So he just wait for me one night.
So when did you figure out who he was?
I recognized him. He's been on TV.
Yes, he is.
As soon as I walked up to him, I was like, yeah, you're a cop. But I know where he lives because I'm over here every night.
You're going to need a smaller cabinet because now you can take all those supplements you're taking or not taking and replace them.
After speaking with Sheriff Troyer, the officers eventually allowed Mr. Altheimer to leave and resume his paper route. The incident sparked a criminal investigation by the State Attorney General's office into Sheriff Troyer's conduct, which was requested by Washington Governor Jay Inslee. The Pierce County Council also announced an independent inquiry into the incident, but later paused its investigation pending the results of the Attorney General's. As of the writing of this episode, neither investigation has been concluded, and it is unclear whether Mr. Altheimer will be taking legal action. Overall, Sheriff Troyer gets an F for purposefully misrepresenting the facts of his encounter with Mr. Altheimer to the other officers, baselessly assuming that Mr. Altheimer was committing a criminal act, and for wasting the valuable time and resources of multiple agencies over his false allegations. Sheriff Troyer admitted that he lied to the 911 dispatcher, which, as mentioned before, likely constituted a criminal act. Perhaps the most troubling element of this encounter is the fact that Sheriff Troyer decided to initiate a confrontation based solely on the fact that Mr. Altheimer was pulling in and out of nearby driveways. Not not only are there a plethora of innocent explanations for such conduct, but nothing about pulling into a driveway at night is illegal or worthy of investigation without additional incriminating evidence. Like many officers, the sheriff misinterpreted the line of facts before him to suggest that criminal activity was afoot. Whether the sheriff's conclusion was an honest mistake or due to implicit bias or blatant racism is for you to decide. Nonetheless, Sheriff Troyer blatantly lied to the 911 dispatcher and some of the responding officers, and it'll be interesting to see the results of the pending investigation. The responding Tacoma Police Department officers get an A, because although they likely could have released Mr. Altheimer sooner, the officers were patient and professional throughout the encounter, made a concerted effort to de-escalate the situation, and approached the interaction with a respectable degree of objectivity. The Tacoma officers did a great job of approaching the scene calmly and reassuring Mr. Altheimer that he would be heard. The officers took their time calming Mr. Altheimer down and did not respond to any of his insults or rude behavior. The officers operated efficiently, effectively, and within the bounds of their authority throughout the interaction. And
yeah, that's big facts. So they understood that he was upset. They understood that he had a reason to be upset. So they kind of did let him vent a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Say a few curse words here and there, but you know what I mean? They understood. They showed that empathy towards that civilian, you know what I mean? Let's keep it going, man.
Willingness to listen to Mr. Altheimer drove this interaction to a peaceful outcome. I commend the Tacoma officers for respecting Mr. Altheimer's rights and conducting a legitimate investigation into the 911 call. This interaction is a prime example of the tangible difference that officer professionalism can make in peacefully resolving civil or criminal disputes. Mr. Altheimer gets an A-, because although he failed to invoke his right to remain silent or consider the legal implications of his statements to the officers, he complied with the commands of the officers without physical resistance and managed to successfully plead his case to the officers and be set free. As demonstrated on many past episodes of ATA, keeping your composure during a police interaction can have a major impact on the outcome, and it is always important to bear in mind how your statements may be used against you in court. Mr. Altheimer's heated and challenging demeanor prompted several emotional outbursts that likely could have been used against him in court. But by the very same token, the conviction of his statements may have played a role in convincing the Tacoma officers to believe his side of the story instead of immediately arresting him. As the encounter progressed, Mr. Altheimer became more calm and was ultimately able to reason with the Tacoma officers and continue on his paper route without issue. I commend Mr. Altheimer for proclaiming his innocence with such passion and truthful conviction. But I would also caution anyone to keep their emotions in check and their mouths closed whenever interacting with members of law enforcement.
Right to remain silent.
Let us know if there.
All right, so that was Audit the Audit. In this case situation right here, like I said before, I think the police officers who arrived on the scene did well. I think the sheriff did a poor job of just sitting back and doing your investigation if you truly believe there is a crime being conducted. Overall, crazy scenario. I couldn't imagine just doing my job and having 40 cops pull over me, claiming whatever he said threatened somebody else's life. That's crazy. I mean, imagine how nervous that guy was, just anxiety going crazy. Good thing he didn't get in trouble. Good thing he followed the directions of the police officers, and he kept his emotions under control. So, if you guys like the Audit videos, comment down below, and we'll keep them going, man. Make sure you click like, subscribe to this content. And as always, man, y'all be easy out there. Peace.
Young age, thank the Lord for giving me a break. If I should die at a young age, thank the Lord for giving me a break. Cause I'll probably live forever, probably live forever.